All right. So super excited to get started. Again, thank you all so much for joining us today. I'm really excited to see all the presentations. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I will spotlight myself and Fanon so that we can do a quick Q&A. All right. So thank you again, Fanon, for joining us today. I know it's been a bit since you finished, your boot camp cohort 3. But what would you say was your biggest takeaway from the experience?
Yeah, definitely one of the biggest takeaways that I had from my collab experience. One is how important it is to collaborate with your team as a PM. So before collab, I think my idea of a PM was someone that just came in, kind of micromanaged, led all the decisions, and was like the end all be all. But from my experience, I really found and like the takeaway that I got was how important it is to collaborate with your dev, designer counterparts, your UX counterparts, and really lean on them. And it's less about making all the decisions and more about empowering your team, providing them with context, information, the strategy, the goals, so that as a team we can make the best decisions, and really consider them as partners. And you hear this a lot, but like leading without authority. So like trying to steer your team in the right direction but not like forcing them in one way or the other, really using their expertise, from the technical aspect, from the design aspect, to understand, are we solving the problem the right way? Or are we making the right decisions? And again, just really using their expertise, because obviously, they're there for a reason. They have a wealth of knowledge and a different perspective that you as a PM may not consider. And so, always, whenever you're making decisions, making sure that the team is aligned, that you're using their perspective, their experience to again just make the best decision for the product and putting that product first. So it's really kind of like not it wasn't a humbling experience, but more so just like, okay, I realized that it's less about the PM and more about the team and the product.
Awesome. Awesome. That's so great to hear and a really, really great takeaway. I actually probably should have started with this question, but let's start with a little bit more of an intro of, who you are. What was your background before joining CoLab? I know that you were able to land an APM role at Shopify that you just recently completed as well. But I'd like to hear, yeah, like who are you? What was your backstory before you joined CoLab as well?
Yeah, yeah. So my background started in civil engineering. So I went to Waterloo and had a 5-year co-op program. And kind of through those co-ops, I kind of realized like late into my civil engineering education that it's not really for me. But the aspect that I took from it was I kind of like building things, but not as so much about like structure and like buildings, but more about like different products. And I knew I kind of wanted to get into tech, just being surrounded at Waterloo with all the different, tech students and all the different opportunities I see them getting, but I didn't really know what in tech I wanted to do. I knew I didn't really like programming and coding that much, so I was kind of scared of going into that. If I randomly just stumbled upon like product management, because they have a product management club at Waterloo. Shout out to the UW club, if anybody knows of it. But yeah, from there I kind of just learned more on my own, trying to see if product was something that I wanted to do. Did a lot of like self learnings online, just through YouTube videos, through like Medium articles, and then randomly fell upon Colab because Shufemi and Helen are also Waterloo grads, and someone referred me to Colab, and I had zero idea what it was. Before that, I had considered boot camps, but I was kind of scared because there's always like a negative connotation around like, boot camps don't really teach you anything, and they're so expensive, and just all the bad stuff. But after meeting Helen Shufemi, I kind of knew Colab was for me because they seemed very genuine, and the learn by doing was something that really captured my eye. And so yeah, I was in cohort 3 of Colab. And from there, I really just built like a network of people that, I kind of go through job hunting with and continue to look for a PM entry level role after that. And I think about 8 months after I finished Colab, I landed the APM role at Shopify. And for those who are not familiar, it's basically a year-long role with 2 6-month rotations. And each 6-month rotation is a different team. And you're basically like the PM of that team, and you work with dev and designers, and you're really kind of just thrown in the fire. And yeah, I just finished that role up in June, and now looking for my next PM role.
Awesome. Such a great crossover from, like you said, civil engineering, the idea of building, but not building. I never thought of that connection before. I love that you mentioned, Helen and Chifumi's perspective of learning by doing, how would you say that learning by doing during the CoLab cohort helped you in your APM role at Shopify? And can you give some examples of how, the skills that you built during CoLab helped you in that role as well?
Yeah, yeah, I would definitely say like just based off of going like learning by doing and going through that process, like it gave me a lot of confidence going into my APM role at Shopify because obviously, there were some things that I didn't know, but I was somewhat familiar with, the product development life cycle, how to work with devs, how to work with designers, and so it wasn't completely new. And so that kind of helped ease me into the role and kind of onboard me because I could reference back to my experience at Co-op saying like, oh, I remember doing that, or I've gone through this a little bit. So I had a taste of it already and wasn't like just fresh eyes to it. But also, like, I think it gave me a lot of confidence to even just ask questions and make suggestions. Again, referencing my experience at Collab, I could say, hey, we use this framework when I was doing it at Collab, and we're doing this framework. Is there a reason for that? And why are we doing that? Or even suggesting a different way to do it just based off of my experience. And I wouldn't say that like the questions were antagonizing. It was more from like a curiosity standpoint. But I don't think I would have had as good of a questions unless I went through that collab experience and had something to reference my experience on. And so that I think helped kind of show people that, okay, he has an idea of what he's doing. Like he's not fresh to this. He has a good curiosity to him, which I think is definitely needed as a PM. And so I think my experience at collab kind of definitely bred that a little bit. But also, I think just handling setbacks too. Like you'll find going through the collab experience and like any experience building a product, like there's going to be some sort of pivot. There's going to be some sort of setback where you're going to have to either cut down on the scope or prioritize something over another thing. And so having to do that at collab, I think in my job now as APM at Shopify, I was already familiar to that. And so it wasn't like, oh shit, there's a setback, like I fucked up. It's more so like, oh, okay, yeah, this is part of the process. Like I'm used to this. This is as normal as it goes for building a product. And so obviously, I did panic a little bit in my role, but it wasn't as big of a shock as if I didn't have a collab and I didn't have that experience and didn't already have to go through a setback like that. So, that definitely helped. And another thing too, I think was like user interviews. So in my role at Shopify as an APM, I had to do a lot of user interviews, talk to users, sift through and like synthesize user feedback to really understand like what users are telling us and how they feel about our product. And so that's something that I did a lot at Colab as well when with the designer early on. And so just understanding, how to write like user interview scripts, how to write non-biased questions, and like again, how to understand what users are telling us. Because one thing I learned at Colab from doing those user interviews is, users tell you one thing, but that's not like what they mean. So they can tell you what they want, but it's not what they need. And so you kind of have to decipher and like read between the lines. And I think going through that experience at Collab, I was a lot better at writing and leading user interviews with my role at Shopify. And then lastly, I think, and what you guys do today with like presenting your product, that definitely is something you're going to have to do a lot of in your PM role. And again, that's something that I did for my role at Shopify as an APM was like present during product syncs to senior stakeholders and like senior product leaders to, give them feedback on terms of where we're at with the project, where we're going, what we have planned. And so already having, presenting product syncs and whatnot during my experience at Collab again kind of set me up and I was already familiar with that process and, get better at public speaking when I had to do it at Shopify. So again, it really just came down to like, building a reference backlog of like, oh yeah, I've done this. I can use that in my role. And then also what I haven't done at Shopify, I can ask questions about based off of what I've already done at Collab or the mistakes that I made at Collab and try to understand how I could do it better in my role at Shopify.
Awesome. That's amazing. Tons and tons of learnings. I didn't expect so many, which is amazing to hear. And I like that you said that it was kind of like a way for you to feel a lot more confident to ask those questions, which I think is a great way to kind of scaffold your learning as you go as well too. So like by feeling comfortable enough to ask questions, you can learn from what you've already done, but also what's coming up as well. And amazing that you touched on, not feeling as stressed when something goes wrong or needs to pivot, which is a really important skill to continuously build as well. I think there will always be that initial panic because you care and it's important, but wonderful that
Oh
you
yeah,
felt that like,
it's
hey,
it's a
I've done
healthy
this
panic.
before. Exactly. That's great. And what would you say is the most important thing for folks learning about product, learning, in tech or about product management right now? What would you say is the most important for them?
Yeah, I would say really just stay adaptable and continuously learn. And when I say that, I don't mean like learn everything because I've tried that and it's literally a black hole. Like there's nowhere. There's always going to be emerging technologies, new frameworks, new ways to do things. And so it's not about like, oh, I'm going to learn as much as I can or like everything. It's more so about like really try to specify what you want to learn. So let's say like if you want to if you know you're not as good at strategy, try to focus on that. Or if you want to get better at execution, focus on that and try to break it down that way versus just trying to tackle it all at once. Because again, that's the mistake that I made early on, and you just kind of get overwhelmed because it's just a huge mountain of learning that you can never really fully finish. And so really trying to tackle it bit by bit and breaking down the product role by like again strategy, execution, if you want to get better at design, if you're not technical and you want to be a little bit more technical, like focusing on those areas. I think breaking it down helps you kind of figure out what you're good at and what you're not good at. Because a lot of times you'll hear people say like, oh, what is your PM strength or what is your PM superpower? And really trying to understand what that is comes down to breaking down the different aspects of the PM role. And then from there, trying to understand what I'm stronger in and what I'm weaker in. And again, it's not even about trying to improve your weaknesses. Like obviously that's good too, but also like a product leader told me a lot of times you also want to highlight your strengths and making sure that you understand what your strengths are so that when you're in interviews or when you're in roles or even choosing roles, you can identify, oh, that role is really relatable to the strengths that I have at PM. So that's something that I want to apply to, or I think something that I can thrive in. And so really trying to identify that as you learn like what product management is or what kind of product manager you want to be is super important. Another one too is, it doesn't really have to be like this. I know like for practicing for PM interviews or like mocks, it's always about like, oh, I need to do X amount of mocks. It doesn't have to be that way. It can also be, trying to find like the little exercises or the little mental models that you can do daily that builds your product sense bit by bit. So that's like if you're using your favorite product, ask yourself some of the questions like, oh, what jobs to be done here, or what problem is it solving, or who are their power users, how would they measure the success of this feature that I'm using? And then from continuously doing that day by day, you'll soon to realize that all these questions become a lot more natural, and you're over time building your product sense, and it becomes a lot easier way to kind of I guess practice for interviews, but even just become a better PM. And then another thing I think that really helped me that I definitely learned from Colab was like building a strong network of other product managers or people in tech. It just helps when you're going through that job hunt or you're trying to learn something and you can share that experience with someone else. Or you can say, hey, I'm struggling with this. Does anyone have good resources? Or someone just shares resources that they didn't even know you needed. And then now you have this whole new learning that you didn't even know about. That is super key because a lot of the times too, when you're learning something new, it can feel isolating or it can feel lonely at times. I know it definitely did for me, but having that community makes it feel like, okay, I'm not going crazy. This thing is actually hard. People are also struggling with this. And so it just makes that process a lot more easier. And again, you just build genuine relationships. Like the people I met at Colab, I still talk to today. We still share articles about PMing. We still share like PM opportunities. So you never really know where those relationships can take you. But overall, it's just really nice to have a community of like-minded people kind of going through the same thing.
Awesome. That's so wonderful to hear that, you're still connected with those folks after all of that time. And I think that's an important thing that we, strive for here at CoLab is that opportunity to network and connect with so many other people so that, you're never alone in going through it. And like you said, that you can always learn from each other as well. And I really liked how you talked about, developing your particular strengths in product management as a product manager as you go through. It kind of related to when artists often ask, like, how do I pick a style? How do I develop my style? And it's like, you don't pick it. It kind of develops as you learn and you can kind of hone it where you want to. So I really liked the way you described that, because I think a lot of people are like worried about, checking all those boxes, learning everything they possibly can instead of focusing and kind of figuring out like how to shape that experience and, you know, shape their experience as product managers too. So thank you. That
For
was
sure. Sure.
wonderful.
I have a whole list of like articles I've bookmarked that I have not even gone to. So it's like it's impossible, you know, you're never gonna
Yeah,
get to everything.
exactly. Yeah, that's so wonderful. Thank you so much. And the topic of networking, if you do feel comfortable dropping your LinkedIn so folks can connect with you as well, and maybe you guys can share some of those unread bookmarks on PM as well. And lastly, before we wrap up and move on to presentations, is there anything else that you'd like to share? Any other thoughts that you want to impart upon our cohorts?
Yeah, yeah. I would say honestly, you know, don't let that imposter syndrome stop you. Like, trust me, I still have it. Senior PMs, VPs of PMs that I talk to still have it. You just kind of have to work through it, and you know, you just have to quiet that voice and just say, "I have it, but I'm still gonna do it, and it is what it is. Whatever happens, happens." But just kind of go through that because it's still gonna be there. Trust me, but you just you know you can't let it stop you. And for me, it's coming from a non-traditional background. Don't discount your background. It may not be the most relatable. Like I came from civil engineering. You know, there's not a whole lot of things that relates to product management, but there's definitely things that you can find in your experience that can relate to product. And I would say use that. You know, don't shy away from it. One thing at Shopify that I think helped me was I framed my story as a career transitioner and why I think I would fit well into it by using my background from civil engineering. And so you never know. There's always connections or relations that you can make from your background to the product management experience. So, you know, feel free to share that.
That is awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to, you know, spend with us today and share your story. It was really great meeting you because you're from a cohort from before I started a collab. So it's so wonderful to hear your experience as well. All right, we are going to move on to the presentations. If you have any questions for Fanon, please drop them in the chat. I think he might stick around for a little bit and hopefully can share his LinkedIn as well. Thank you again so much. I will unspotlight you.
No
All right.
worries. Thank you so much. And good luck, everybody.
Wonderful. Awesome. All right. So we're going to move on to our sprint presentations. First, for anyone who's joining us as a prospective student, we do have two different programs. We have our sprint program, which is our 4-week program focused on ideation and discovery. And then we have our 8-week boot camp, which is focused on the execution and delivery phase where they've actually built out the full product as well. I'm drafting a quick list that I can drop in the chat as we go, but our first presenter is actually going to be Maiwa. So if you can get ready to share your screen and we will spotlight you. All right.
I was on mute, sorry. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen. Can you all see?
Yep.
Awesome. Perfect. Okay. Hi, everyone. So my name is Maria Kogali, and today I'm going to be talking about how we might solve the problem of police officers needing to decompress after a stressful call for service. So let's start by talking about the problem a little bit. I've been working in the field of policing for about 8 years now, and one pain point that comes up quite often is that officers have to respond to calls for service that typically elicit high stress, such as family violence or calls involving the presence of a weapon. And unfortunately, they don't typically have time or resources to decompress after those calls. So that can typically, as research shows, lead to adverse effects such as officers experiencing burnout, depression, anxiety, and heart disease. And it also impacts communities more broadly, such as by making officers more likely to engage in excessive use of force. So to validate this problem space, I conducted user interviews with 3 former law enforcement officers who recently retired. All of the interviewees indicated that there really isn't any time or space reserved for officers to decompress after responding to a stressful call, and that officers sometimes just need a break after a call or a break from a certain call type, and that the only officer they typically have for managing stress is really to talk to their peers. One user in particular said that time is the biggest thing you can have, in addition to having someone to talk to, such as a senior officer or mental health professional. So what's the solution? I'm proposing Fortify, a computer-aided dispatch software plugin that enables officers to indicate their needs after responding to a stressful call for service. Fortify works by enabling officers to indicate their needs after they respond to a stressful call. It ranges from a menu of options such as taking a break to decompress, avoiding a certain call for the rest of their shift, being connected with a mental health professional or peer, or being connected with resources for managing stress. So I plan to continue investigating the feasibility of developing this product in the future. And I'm super grateful for the learnings that I've taken from the COLAB training thus far, some of which I'd actually like to call out. So in particular, one of my favorite takeaways was that a critical focus on the problem space rather than leading with an emphasis on the solution actually creates more opportunities to identify effective solutions. I also really appreciated the time spent on understanding the job to be done, as that approach really emphasizes understanding the outcomes that customers want from using a product. And last but certainly not least, learning about effective prioritization was very helpful, and particularly that failing fast during the MVP process actually optimizes success down the line by minimizing costs and time spent on production. So overall, this has been a really great experience, and I just want to thank COLAB for the amazing opportunity. And lastly, I'd like to share my contact information. It's been a really great time getting to know all of you. Please do keep in touch.
Amazing. That was a very, very concise and compelling presentation. Amazing sticking to time. We'll move on to the Q&A. So if we have any mentors who have any questions, we will spotlight them.
Hi, this is Kayuri here. I do have a question. Hey, Mavia, first of all, you can hear me. First of all, I wanted to say very, very good job with your presentation. It was very succinct in talking about your problem space, and I totally agree with your learning that focusing deeply into the problem space actually helps you come up with more relevant solutions. So very, very well done on that. I also like the unique choice of problem space that you have chosen. I wanted to ask you, aside from interviewing the three retired law enforcement officers, what other research did you embark on to get more details on this?
Yeah, sure. So I did a preliminary scan of the literature. So I've been working in the applied research space for quite a few years. So I'm very well familiar with the empirical research that shows this, from like the psychological literature and so on and so forth. But I do also plan to conduct a more quantitative survey to expand on the findings that I collected from the user interviews, as well as expanding on the base of participants for the users, so that I can capture a broader range of folks who are still currently practicing, depending on what departments they work in, so that I can get more representative findings, and then using that to then narrow down into a quantitative survey to validate some of these findings. But I did do a lit review to get a better sense of what is already out there that we know.
And was the focus of your survey or problem space specifically police officers, or did you also consider other emergency responders such as firefighters or ERs?
That's a great question. So I narrowed my scope specifically to police officers, but in the grand scheme of things, I think that it would be worth considering other first responders as well, because they are also very bound to experience a lot of the same stressful calls that officers respond to as well.
Absolutely. So thank you. That's the end of my question. The only suggestion additional I would have is, when you are working on implementing this in the 8-week cohort, I would encourage you to, when you're defining solutions, I would encourage you to work with your teams and explore how AI might be useful for this use case. But if you do choose to go the COLAB cohort route, I really look forward to helping you formulate the solution. I really like the choice of your problem space, but well done.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, and I will definitely keep in touch.
Thank you.
Awesome. Wonderful job. Thank you so much, Mawia. We're going to move on to our next presenter. We'll actually be adjusting the list slightly. I don't think Daniel is here just yet, so we're going to have Natalie go next. Surprise.
Okay, let me go ahead and present. All right, can everyone see my screen? Okay, perfect. All right, so my product idea is called Tail Talk, and it is a mobile app creating digital spaces to remember our pets. So taking a look at the problem statement, the pet owners who are dealing with pet grief need a way to digitally commemorate their pet and connect with others, because pet grief can be isolating, stressful, confusing, and painful. An overlook at the problem background is that pet loss is inevitable. Healthy dogs can live between 8 to 15 years, depending on the size and breed of the dog. And healthy cats can live between 13 to 17 years and up to 20 years. The loss can be due to death. Pet has escaped. They could have lost it through a breakup or divorce, or given it up through due to a challenging circumstance. Existing similar solutions, the user interface is outdated. They do not offer mobile apps. They leave out pet owners who lost a pet from anything outside of death. And the one existing iOS app, the user interface is not very intuitive and does not offer a way to design your own remembrance page. Furthermore, 86.9 million households own a pet in 2023. There are 34 million pet deaths globally, and 23 million US households adopted a pet, dog, or cat during the pandemic. Relevant data and research methods. So I surveyed 8 pet owners, surveyed 6 and interviewed 2. The results were that 5 out of 8 felt depression after losing their pet. 6 out of 8 felt comfortable sharing with others about their grief, but 4 out of 8 had concerns about sharing too much. 7 out of 8 will be keeping their digital photos forever to commemorate, with a single participant having lost her photos. So the proposed solution is Tail Talk. It's a mobile application that allows users to remember their pets through their own digital wall of memories. They can also connect with invited guests or other pet owners to help one another cope with loss. So the goals really that I want to highlight are aiming to create positive memories of the pet and building a community that fosters support, validation, and understanding of pet loss grief. So takeaways, it's always about asking the right questions. Do not ask questions that assume a specific action the user may take, even if the action seems like common practice. And it's ideal to conduct your user interviews first, and take those findings to formulate your survey questions. Learnings, I love to learn about like jobs to be done, because it helped me understand that my product was serving an emotional job, to help users seek validation, feel safe, and ease emotional pain. Next steps, I'm really excited to sorry about that. Really excited to work with a team of developers and designers to bring this idea to fruition. I know there's going to be tweaks that will need to be done to the idea, but super excited to collaborate. And that wraps up my presentation.
Great job. Thank you so much. I really like your problem space. It is a very difficult one to think about, but super, super important. We'll move on to the Q&A portion. So we'll spotlight our mentor.
Awesome job, Natalie. Hi, this is Kiyuri again. Very touching sort of space to explore. I agree, Beth. Natalie, I have one question. Does the journey of the user start as soon as they have a pet, or as they, are you thinking more about the journey of your user on Tail Talk would more start towards the end of the lifespan of the pet?
Definitely towards the end of the lifespan. I think that is probably the most challenging part, especially after interviewing and getting those findings from the surveys, is that at the end is when people are starting to ask questions and feeling really concerned about like if they're making the right choice, if they have to euthanize a pet, or if they're going through a circumstance like people turn to online support groups, and sometimes it may be difficult for people at the end of the phase to like really accept that the loss is happening. So definitely towards the end of the lifespan.
Thank you for clarifying that. To that effect, what would be the expected, and if you haven't thought about this yet, that's fine. What would be the expected time for which a user would use Tail Talk?
That's definitely a great question. So based on some research that I found online, I found that most people are still grieving between 12 to 19 months after the pet loss. So it could be up to a year. And then I definitely wanted to serve as a way that even if they may not check in constantly after they've healed from the grief, they can still come back to the remembrance page as a way to like have that nostalgia, because a lot of my participants told me that they reflect on photos and it invokes feelings of nostalgia. So I want those positive memories for them.
That's good. Thank you. Thank you so much for answering that.
Of course. Thank you.
Good work.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you again, Natalie. Great job. Really excited to see your product as you move forward through the boot camp as well. It'll be amazing to see your MVP as well. So thank you. All right, we'll move next on to Gloria. I know we had Daniel in the list, but unfortunately he's unavailable. So we'll have Gloria up next, and then Wanderess will be right after that. Yeah, after the sprint ones are done, we'll move into the collab one. So good luck, Gloria.
Thank you, guys. Bear with me because, you know, I wasn't expecting this. And I'll try to keep it short as well. Okay, let me try to share. Please let me know when you can see it.
Yep, it's just not in presentation yet, but yeah.
Okay, move the toolbar. Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Gloria, the PM for Voyage AI, exploration at your fingertips. My problems statement was, how might we make trip planning easy and effective for travelers so that the process is not stressful? So I assume a lot of people, majority of people, like to travel, whether it's for an occasion, like a birthday, an anniversary, or you're just going for a vacation. According to Psychology Today, trip planning is the most stressful aspect of traveling and vacationing. Stress is defined as a state of worry or mental tension caused by a difficult situation. So regardless of the type of trip, occasion, or the number of people you're traveling with, the planning process can seem daunting. So how do we fix that? I conducted 4 virtual interviews and did an online survey as well, which had 85 responses. And I found that the top 2 valued aspects of traveling were new experiences and activities and excursions that matched their style of travel. The most stressful part of planning a trip was finding activities and excursions that they were interested in, researching as a whole, and staying within budget. So here's a user persona. Meet Christina. She's a 27-year-old woman from DC. She finds pleasure in luxury travel, new experiences, and diverse cultures. She takes trips often, and one of her pain points is wasting time searching through multiple websites for reviews, feeling overwhelmed by conflicting recommendations, and feeling like she's missing out on unique experiences. So she needs a platform that allows for customization of travel preferences, access to hidden gems, and an all-in-one that aggregates reviews from different resources such as social media. So here's the solution. Voyage AI is an application that makes trip planning easy and fun. It allows for customized travel preferences, it suggests new experiences, and it provides a list of reviews and recommendations that match the user's style of travel. A couple of things that I learned from COLAB was definitely to focus more on the problem than the solution, which helps to ensure that you're solving the right problem. I learned this firsthand as well because I definitely had a different idea in mind when I first started because I was focusing more on the solution than the problem space. I learned more to make data-driven decisions, which helped within my research with the user interviews and the survey. I also learned that mockups are not the easiest thing to do. So big shout out to all the UI and UX designers because that was very hard for me. And overall, this program has affirmed my love for product by allowing me to learn by doing. So very grateful for this experience. Thank you, guys.
Wonderful. Great job on short notice as well. You did really good job jumping in and getting into your presentation. We'll open it up to our question from our mentor and we'll spotlight them as well. Do any of our mentors?
Hi. Oh, sorry. Yeah, this is Kiri. I couldn't unmute myself. I have one question. Very well done, by the way, with the presentation. I have a question. What prompted you to pick the travel space?
I think it was more so I was going off of my own issues because I had so many ideas in my head. I just decided to do something that I probably would use. And since I am a very heavy planner and traveler and organizer, I feel like this would be an app that would be really helpful to me, someone that likes to make itineraries and usually someone that plans the trip.
Thank you, Gloria. Also, what similar question to the as I asked to Natalie, what do you think would be the lifetime value of a user on your app?
I think it would be used for a long time since this would include like AI, so it would basically kind of update with the market in terms of the new things that are coming out. So I think it would kind of stay up to date as time goes along.
Thank you very much. Good work.
Thank you.
Amazing job. Thank you so much. I know it was short and sweet for everybody, but everyone did such an amazing job with their concise and compelling presentations. All right, now we'll move on to our boot camp presentations, and that will be starting with Team Wanderus.
So, Yash, if you could pull up the presentation.
All right, we see it.
You see it? All right. Awesome. So that's so awesome, Gloria. You got to join our team. That's all I got to say. But yeah, I'm Eric. I'm the PM for Wanderus. I have with us Yash and Nishant, who are developers. And unfortunately, Serena, our designer, couldn't be with us today, but she's here in spirit. So our Wanderus is basically comes like the roots are definitely in the group traveling as well. Similar to Gloria, we did some research. Group traveling, as fulfilling it is, often comes with stress and planning. In our research of about 92 respondents, it's 6 in-depth interviews. Over half of those respondents reported that group travel planning is a big area for improvement. And in those results, more than 75% of the respondents really claimed that itinerary planning was the toughest part. I'm glad we were validated there as well. So we've designed a web app, Wanderus, that allows you to create itineraries and vote on activities and share with your group, ensuring every traveler's voice is heard. Yash, could you page down the slide? So that's our research right there, with 75, and this is kind of our early mock-up. And now Yash will demo what the product actually does in terms of functionality.
Great. Just give me a second. So now that you know what Wanderus is, I'd like to take you through Wanderus through a user story. So imagine you're Sammy and you're a part of a very youth friend group who loves to travel, and you have planned that you want to go to Paris this week. So what you would do is go up to WhatsApp or Instagram and create all your itineraries, and it's the most toughest job ever. Instead, you come to Wanderus. You can go ahead and log in into your account. And once you have done that, you can also see what kind of password you have inputted. Just give me a second. All right, no issues. I just go ahead and create a new account. So here I'm just creating a new account, how Sammy would go ahead and create one for herself, create the account, and now she'll be able to sign in through our Wanderus account as well. I think there's some issue with the API, but I mean, those things keep on happening.
No worries, Yash. Just move forward to the other parts of the
Yeah, all right, got it. So anyway, now that we are it, now Sammy is able to create different types of trips as she wants, but she already has one created called Paris Party, wherein you can see this most simplest itinerary ever, like it should be. You got your activities, you can go into each and check what kind of the location, cost, time, and description there is. And moreover, you can also vote in real time for this. You can either say you're interested, not interested, or maybe you are not really sure what you want to do right now. You can go ahead and add an activity as well, as something like I've done here with Disney in Disneyland Paris being an activity, and you can see on day 4 you have this. This is wondrous and how we create the most simplest itinerary for travel planning instead of going to WhatsApp or Instagram. Moving over to some takeaways.
Yeah. So in terms of biggest takeaways, my biggest takeaway was that learning how to prioritize and break larger user stories into smaller digestible parts really helped us to understand like the components and what could be built like pretty much right away and fast to keep the basically the product usable every step of the way. So it's really, really interesting that you can slice things so many different ways and still have like a usable product. That's a huge thing for me. Josh.
Right. For me, one of the most important things was to understand how different people in a group have very different perspectives from what I have. And it was interesting to combine all of them to be able to create a product. Now over to Nishant.
For me, through Wonders, I really enjoyed being involved in the addition and analysis phase. We did a lot of surveys, we did our development, and we again went back to user feedbacks and reacted to that. And that's really interested me, and I really take that as a great gain, because being as a backend developer, we don't get that much of experience out of it. So yeah.
Yep. And as a team, and as a team, one of the big learnings that we had was that establishing a good set of norms really, really helped us thread the needle when it came to working together pretty cohesively. So so that was really, really helpful for us. And that's why we've chosen to continue on to build a little bit more additional functionality with the product, eliminating some tediousness around things, adding some abilities to upload photos and things like that. We're definitely continuing on as a team. We're also open to exploring other problem spaces as well. But we'll open up to questions now if anybody has any.
That was awesome. Can you guys hear me? This is Michael.
Yeah.
Oh, hey. Great. Thanks so much for the presentation. It's really clear. It's so funny that the questions that I had were actually questions that you already started to answer afterwards. So, but yeah, learning, let's just go a little deeper into like your takeaways. Like you're talking about like, how did you prioritize and break into smaller parts, learning how to do that? What do you think was like the key takeaway for you of figuring out the difference between this is something that we think we want to pursue. Now, how do we break it up? How did you pursue that?
Yeah, that's actually funny that you say that, because I had to take like maybe an additional week to break down and rewrite some of these user stories to kind of fit like what we needed, as well as some of the components and like what was really truly necessary to make that user story like complete, essentially. And so we actually divided like across like different parts of the user story to build different components of each of those features to make it stand up. And so that way, like even a little bit of that user story could actually be shown. And then we continued to complete that, and login kind of came back sort of full circle, because now we're able to share that with other people in terms of our trips. We weren't able to before, but like that was kind of the final kind of cherry on top with everything that we've been doing, is being able to finalize the trip, being able to share it with everybody else.
I would just like to add another thing to what Eric said. So initially, when we thought about the problem statement, some out of the box solution which came to our mind was probably a recommendation engine, wherein you could get lots of trips you could recommend, right? But what we understood from our user researches and our interviews was that that is a problem we have to solve at a later stage. The first problem is that the itinerary itself is so messed up. So that is how we were able to identify the main problems, and then we were able to prioritize them, which is how we have been able to create Wanderers to where it is right now.
Yep.
Amazing. Thank you all so much. I'm so sorry to jump in here. We are a little over time, but thank you, Michael, for your question, and thank you, Team Wanderers, for a great presentation as well. We'll remove your spotlights now. And for everyone on the call, we are going to be a little bit over time. We've got a few presentations left, so I hope everyone can stick around. And do feel free to check out the folks' product portfolios on the website to read more about all of their experiences as well. All right, we'll be on to our next team now, Team Pickle Pals. Go ahead.
Hey guys, my name is Swati. I'm the product manager for Pickle Pals. So I'm a part of COLAB21. Share my screen. So you can see my screen. So pickleball is the fastest growing sport. For anyone who doesn't know what pickleball is, it's a paddle sport that combines tennis, badminton, and ping pong using a paddle and a plastic ball. So it is a game appropriate for players of all ages and skill levels. So its rules are very simple, and that's making it a great introductory sport. According to the Association of Pickleball, around 36.5 million people played pickleball from August 2021 to August 2022. One of the major players are facing is that difficulty of finding suitable pickleball partners to play with. They may not have a well-established pickleball community in the area, thus making it challenging to arrange to play the games regularly. So we conducted a user research and did a lot of surveys to validate this issue. And we got a main takeaway was that all of them were dependent on local codes and clubs to meet and play the game. So the primary feature they saw from a pickleball website was that the ability to meet players and schedule matches at local codes of their choice. So pickleball solves this issue by matching users with an ideal pickleball partners and opponents based on their skill, availability, and location, so that they do not have to worry about arranging pickleball matches. Just want to ask, Eileen, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, Eileen.
Okay, awesome.
Over to my designer.
Yeah. Also, I'm on the road, but I'm going to do this based on memory. So, hi everyone, I'm Eileen. I'm the product designer for Pickle Pals. And going into the project, one of my considerations was the demographics, and a sizable percentage of pickleball players are seniors. So thinking about that, I wanted the user flow to be simple. And when I was doing these sketches, I decided to just have everything on the homepage, like the main features, as in find a match, find a core in your profile. But thanks to the feedback of my teammates, I realized that would actually cause more confusion. Like, where do I even start? Like, I'm being faced with these three options. So that's why on that slide for the lo-fi and mid-fi, you see that it's kind of all there. But on to the next slide. So we took on a new approach, which was kind of inspired by, onboarding for stuff like Home Chef and other things like that, where you start off with a form that collects the user's information first. Like when you're on the home page, it just says sign up, and then you collect the user's preferences. That way you learn about whether they're looking for a player or somebody to play with or an opponent, etc., or their availability as well. And that was what actually simplified the user flow. And it was just, one of my biggest learnings was not to go with my assumption, but actually, look at what actually simplifies the user flow. And then otherwise, I kept like the nav bar on top to easily switch between the features. And then we narrowed the scope a little bit of the project, because initially what we wanted was for Pickle Pals to be accessible by anyone in any city. So you could put your location there, the website could sense your location, and then based on your zip code, you could find a court near you. But instead of that, we kept it to the city of Toronto and just had a searchable table of pickleball courts. So that just made the project overall easier to finish. Yep, that's all for me.
Thank you, Eileen. Over to developer,
Thank you.
Devesh.
Thank you, Eileen. My name is Divas Gupta. I have joined COLAB as a software developer. Now I'm gonna talk about the features of our website. First, user can easily sign up and sign in so that it can keep track of the invitations and invites. Second, the main and most important feature, like user can easily schedule a match with other players based on the specific parameters like availability, seeking type, and skill level. Third, user can also send invitations to other user and send and accept and reject invitation from other user, received from other user. Fourth, user can also search for codes in their city. Thank you. Over to them.
Hi everyone. Divesh, Abik Swathi, kindly stop sharing your screen. Okay.
Just a quick reminder, we are at 1 minute, so make it a quick demo, and then the Q&A will actually be
Can you
in
all
the
see my
chat.
screen? Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
All right. So this is the platform. So a user is required to sign up first, and here we get the preferences of the user, because we are matching user based on this. So I'm a registered user already, so I'm most likely going to just come in. There's something blocking my screen here. Okay, so now I'm logged in as Veiled Coder. So you can check your invitations. I have pending invitations. I don't have any pending invitation now. And the invitations I've sent out, this is the status of the information, the invitations. So these are the match. So only this guy is matched with me. So to find courts, we have local courts in Toronto here. So I'm logged in another account, and I'll try to send an invitation to the other account. So
I think this is great. I'm really sorry, Rama. I'm going to have to cut you off. We are a bit over time. So for everyone watching, you can definitely go and see their live product in their product portfolio as soon as we have it up on our website. But thank you all so much for the presentation. Really sorry to cut you off. This is my least favorite part. But do take a look at the chat. I know our mentor Michael has asked a question. And for anyone else, if you have questions, do put them in the chat so they can answer them as well. And we'll move on to our next presentation. Thank you, guys. And our next presenters are Scam Guardian. So I believe that's Nemis Soma's team.
Hi everyone. Hi everyone, my name is Masama. So now I'll share my screen with our presentation. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Let's just put this in right mode. Okay, hi everyone, my name is Masama. I'm the product manager for this team. Our designer is Jameson, and our developers are Kunal and Sharon, and we're presenting our product called Scam Guardian, and it's a Chrome extension. So let's take a look at this scenario very quickly. So let's say you're shopping online for an item, for something for yourself. I come across this website that looks very good. It has nice items for reasonable prices. So you said that in the future, you're going to buy something from them. But when we take a closer look at this website, we see all these signs that point towards the fact that this site is a front for people trying to steal information from unsuspecting users. This coupled with research that we did into scam losses. In the US alone in 2022, about $6.8 billion was lost to scams, and this figure was up about 30% from the 5.1 that was lost in 2021. So this coupled with all the user interviews that we eventually did led us to land on our problem space focusing on online shopping scams. So now I'll hand over to our developer, Shreya, to do a quick demo of the product. I'll stop sharing my screen.
Hey, can you stop sharing?
Yep.
Okay. So this is our landing page. From here, you can download the extension. It will take you to GitHub, which automatically packages our extension. It automatically packages our extension. So as you can see, our extension shows a button on websites it recognizes. It shows risks and tips for all of these websites. It shows different tips for every website. You can move the button up or down if it covers any element, or hide it for 12 hours. You can also scan all the URLs of the page to make sure they are safe or not. It is taking bit time. As you can see, all of domains on target are safe. It also blocks dangerous websites, and it works on a lot of websites. You can either trust it or leave the website. So that's all for the demo.
Okay, thank you, Sharon. And that's our presentation. Okay, so as for team learning, sorry. For team learning, for myself as a PM, the main thing I learned from this program is that as a PM, it's very important for me to remain open and flexible to learning, because I realized that there's always something new I can learn from from my other team members, because they have a lot more experience in different areas of product building. So now over to Kunal.
Yeah, I have encountered numerous significant changes in my coding skills, like building extension and working in a team with an agile methodology. Over to you, Shreya.
I experienced significant growth in my skills. I learned how to choose the right stack. We had 8 million domains in our database, and we used MongoDB first. So we decided to change to Postgres, and it improved our results a lot. So now, Jameson.
Hello, as a product designer, I learned how to manage my communication with the product manager, as well as both Krunal and Shreyan as developers. And I also learned how to develop a Chrome extension, which was a really cool project to work on.
Thank you. That's all we have for our presentation today. For a longer demo of our products, you can see our portfolio on COLAB's website. You can also connect with other team members as we hope to keep building this product after COLAB ends. Thank you very much. And that's all we have for you today.
Wonderful. Let's open it up to questions from our mentors. Amazing to hear you're looking to continue.
Hi. Really like the fact that you guys are going to continue. And so that brings me to the point of what would be your strategy to monetize this product? And how would you, actually, the next question, I'll just put it in the chat.
Okay, for monetizing the product, currently we haven't really thought about that aspect. I said it's something that we're going to look into in the future. Because now we're currently working on trying to implement some of the features that we weren't able to work on during this 8 weeks. So after during that process of building more features, we'll talk about how we plan to push this product to market eventually, and eventually monetize it as time goes on.
Thank you. Good work.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I think Carrie said she had another question she'll ask you in the chat as well. Okay. But thank you all for your presentation. Wonderful job. Really great job. I'm always so excited to hear that a team is going to continue after the 8 weeks as well, because 8 weeks is not a long time to build a product out. All right, on to our next presentation, which is Match My Roomie.
Hi, everyone. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, sounds good. So let's get started. So, hi, everyone. My name is Bridget, and I am the product manager for this team. We have Emily as our designer, Ji-un and Wasi as our developers, and together we built Match My Roomie. So during our initial research, we found that over the past years, rent has risen significantly and living costs have increased due to inflation and basic necessities, such as groceries and gas. When we conducted our user interviews and user surveys, we found that many users tend to seek roommates for financial reasons. Users also expressed that they consider cleanliness, living habits, and financial stability when it comes to roommate searching. They also expressed how difficult it is to find a roommate that meets their criteria. as a team, we focus on this specific problem. And so Match My Roomie was then created and built. We want to provide an efficient way for users to find roommates through a web platform that features compatibility profile matching. So the solution that we all focused on is that Match My Roomie's main focus feature is simplifying the process of finding and connecting roommates through user matching and compatibility by taking a perfect roommate quiz that will then give users a list of compatible roommates through a compatibility algorithm based on their quiz's answers. And now I'll hand it off to one of our developers, Jiun, where she will demonstrate our live product.
Okay. All right. Is that visible right now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So here is our live web application. It's a simple UI for users to navigate with a click of a button. So we'll just get, all right, we'll get started. I'm just gonna create an account. And then we're gonna sign up. And then so the next section, so the next component, this section is going to cover the first user story to have the option to create their profile. So there's a delay sometimes because you're using a free live server. Hopefully that'll render shortly. It was working just a second ago. Maybe I can pull up my actual current code. Maybe I can just talk about the components right now. So after creating the profile, the second part will be the quiz section where the users can actually pick their preference to look for exact roommate, most compatible roommate. And then the final section will show the results of the actual matched users, up to 10 profiles. Sorry, 1 second. Sorry, I'm just gonna pull up the actual code. Oh, there you go. I'm gonna continue. So this is the first component for creating profile. And I guess it's age. And continue. I'm just gonna say male. I can either skip the biography or add information, and I can actually add the photo as well. And now we're gonna go to the quiz section. So I'm actually picking the actual roommate that I want based on my preference. Is living in an apartment, Venus. And then this will show you the actual results to match roommates. And then for the next step, we will add messaging functionality so user can actually interact with the roommates. And then now I will hand the presentation back to Bridget.
Thank you, Jiun. To wrap up our presentation, as a team, we experienced a comprehensive learning journey that enrich our understanding of the product development process and reinforce that importance of collaboration. Throughout our experience with CoLab, we learned to communicate effectively and emphasize on user needs, design development synchronization, and working together as an agile team. We do want to give a quick shout out to our mentor, Kiri, for guiding us throughout our product development process. We would not be where we are right now presenting our live product to you all if it wasn't for her guidance and mentorship. And also to Beth, who provided us with CoLab resources and for being so quick to answer questions that we had during this program. Thank you.
Oh, thank you guys. Thank you all so much. Amazing job, team. It really looked wonderful. I know there's always a little bit of challenge with presenting things live, technical delays. We'll do the Q&A in the chat again, just because we are kind of running close on time, and that way you can fully answer Michael's questions and anybody else's questions as well. But really, really neat product idea as well. Thank you. Great job, team. All right, we'll remove your spotlights and we'll move on to our last team, which is Mind Memo. And I want to say thank you again to everyone for sticking it out. I know we are a little over time, but I really appreciate everyone sticking around for all of these amazing presentations and being here to celebrate our 2 cohorts as well. All right, so let's start spotlighting the folks for Mind Memo.
Can you see the screen?
Yep.
Okay.
Right, so Dipesh, when you can go to the slideshow. Great. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here with us today. Our product is called Mind Memo, and Mind Memo is the web extension that helps you remember what you save for later. Now, quickly going to the problem. Let's introduce the team members first. We are called the Fourth Brainers. And firstly, our product designer, Olivia Jane, two amazing software developers, Varun and Dipesh, me, Rebecca, as a product manager, and our awesome product mentor, Michael Doyle. Now, going to the problem background, Mind Memo came up to life because we found that the digital web provides access to an endless source of information, and users save content on day-to-day basis through bookmarks or curated lists to help them organize. Now, what we found is that saved content is frequently forgotten and overlooked. So our problem statement states that how can we help users remember the content they save so that they can easily engage with it later?
So we conducted 3 user interviews and received 50 responses from our survey. And our goal overall was to understand how users engage and then re-engage with the saved content. We discovered all different types of content is saved, and it's saved because it's valuable. However, it's often forgotten or overlooked. So currently, users don't have a reliable way to remember, to revisit, and take in that content again. So right now they have this sudden reminder that they have to depend on, and they'll revisit it if they have the time. So therefore, all this content that's valuable over time now loses its value, and it just sits there. Just it's like dead weight, not going away, and it's just mixed among the old and new content. And so we created a product introducing Mind Memo. So Mind Memo is a progressive web browser extension that keeps the saved valuable content top of mind. How does it do it? So first, you create a memo, which is basically capturing the content that you save so you can access it very easily later. The second is you set reminders. So instead of depending on yourself for this mental reminder and having the time, you actually select the time that works best for you to revisit it. And last, it syncs with calendar. So with Google Calendar, it appears as a task, and that ensures that you do in fact revisit and find the value in time.
So let's see how our extension works. First, you have to download the zip file and upload it to our extension. And you can see a right over here icon. When you click on this, it will redirect it to the URL. And continuing with Google, choose your preferable Gmail account. And we can see that after selecting Gmail account, it is authenticated. Now we are good to go. For this, I'm using example of Medium. So we can see that our icon is successfully. So let's add title for it, manage time, and we can see that URL is automatically added, and give the time as your preferable date, sorry. And this is giving notes. And after clicking on save Mind Memo, we can see that our Mind Memo is successfully created. Let's see on Google Calendar if it stores successfully or not. So visiting on Google Calendar on the date of 3. Should we get
scroll
added?
up, scroll up, go to 3 and scroll up.
Sorry, September 3. So it basically get added. Right now it's not showing. Sometimes it's take time.
Good. Thank you, Dipesh. Right. So jumping on to our key learnings, we have learned so much throughout this whole journey. For that, we want to thank COLAB as well for providing the opportunity. As a product manager, I've learned how to prioritize the features, develop leadership, working a cross-functional team, conducting user interviews and user testing, and also Agile methodology.
And as a product designer, I worked closely cross-disciplinary collaboration. This is the first time I designed a Chrome extension, and I learned about preparing and organizing the designs for handoff so it's seamless and effective in time.
As a front-end developer, I learned about creating Chrome extensions, coding Figma UI, and integration with backend.
So as a backend developer, I learned how to authenticate with Google APIs and creating tasks using Google APIs and integrating with the front end so that there will be a smooth journey in the database.
Thank you, everyone. Now we'd like to ask who is ready to use Mind Memo.
I am. I know there's a few folks in the chat as well that said they were. We'll open it up for one mentor question, and then I will do a quick wrap up since we are over time. But amazing presentation, a really, really cool product.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you.
Way to go, seeking your first 10 users. Well done. I wanted to understand what type of personas, again, a similar question that I've asked before. This is such a generic problem that if you were to market this or take this to market, what type of personas would you target for this product?
Great question. Thank you, Carrie. So our targeted user is anyone who saves content for later use. So with an intent to re-engage with the content. So whether it be revisit or rewatch it. So any valuable content that they plan to look at it or read it for later.
Going off of that really fast, Rebecca and Carrie. So during user interviews, it's all different types of content. So it could be someone exploring, they find a recipe and this is something they want to make. They don't have the ingredients. They go to the store, it slips their mind. They don't make it. Now it's just lost among all their different recipes that they found and pinned. Alternatively, I mean, that's just one. Second could be another user had something coming up for work, a YouTube video that would have been very helpful, but eventually it slipped his mind, and by the time he did find it again, he didn't need that video anymore. So again, any different kind of content with any type of urgency, which can be obviously long-term and short-term.
That's great. Thank you. If I may make a suggestion, the problem with problems that are so generic that so many different types of people face it is that it makes it super hard when you go to define your go-to-market strategy and when you're trying to market it to a specific group of people, right? So my advice would be when you're thinking about taking this to market, would be to a little bit more intentional. Yes, this can be used by a variety of different personas, but be a little bit more intentional in getting your first 100 or first 500 users when you and this way you don't spend a whole ton of money behind marketing to haphazardly. So craft a story, maybe focus on students or focus on professionals such as product managers, right? We got a lot of validation in this group today. So designers, product managers, tech folks, what have you. It's when you have problems that are generic or this is a standard challenge that you have when taking it to market at first. So I would really encourage you to be very intentional in crafting your go-to-market strategy, even more so for this type of product than you would for something that's specifically catered to a persona already.
Thank you so much for giving that advice. We definitely.
Yeah, very well done. And nice to see you again, Olivia Jane. Good work, you guys.
You too.
Wonderful. Thank you, team. Last but definitely not least, amazing products. All right, so I will unspotlight everyone. And we're going to do a really quick wrap up. We're going to try to take a quick photo. So if you haven't turned your video on, if you can turn your video on, that way we can see everybody. I just want to say, of course, thank you to everyone who stuck around through the past 4 weeks, 8 weeks, and of course through this long presentation, but amazing group of presentations. And congratulations to everyone who made it. It is not always easy to go through the programs, push yourself, push through that imposter syndrome, as we heard Finane talk about. And of course, I want to say thank you to our amazing mentors. Both Michael and Kayuri joined us today from our boot camp, but our Sprint folks met with Confidence, who is also an amazing mentor that worked with all of you as well. We wouldn't be here if it weren't for them and their support as well too. So I want to say thank you to both of them. And of course, again, I hope every single one of you is really proud of the work that you put in over the past few weeks. I hope that you've made some new friends, new connections, hopefully long-term connections that you can continue to network with, bounce ideas off of, commiserate with during those tough times as well. And I hope you'll continue to connect with CoLab in our community as well. So yeah, maybe we can do like a little wave or something like that so Mitch can take a really great photo for the end of the cohort. But I just want to say, again, I'm so proud of every single one of you and really honored that I've been able to meet with you and have connected with you over the past 4 or 8 weeks. But yeah, give a little wave, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Have a wonderful weekend, and for the folks who get a long weekend, I hope you enjoy it as well too. All right. Don't forget, everybody, you belong in tech. Bye. Take care.
Bye.